good afternoon. Class कब start होगी? हो गई start. So sorry for the delay, for the 1 or 2 minute delay that happened. We were basically checking the back end to ensure all things are in place because we are here for the long haul. We're here for good 2 hours and that we want a seamless, uninterrupted 2 hours, which is why, of course, we were doing all of this. Now that I'm here, wishing all of you once again a very good afternoon. I hope you guys are well fed. Get up because we have a lot of ground to cover. So much to say कि 45 questions है हमारे पास करने के लिए, and I would not want any of you to leave sight of the laptop for the next 2 hours. So put your phones on silent and let's all get our head in the game and see how well are we prepared for the upcoming exams that we have. But first things first, I'd like to do a quick check. Am I audible to each one of you? Can you all hear me? So I'm going to keep checking in the chat box every now and then just to be sure as to whether, I am audible and that you're writing on the chat box. So very quickly, if anybody can give me a confirmation as to whether I'm audible or not. Hi, good afternoon. So we have just hi and a lot of good afternoons. Yes, audible. So Rhythm has been very kind to us and so has Arnav been because both of them have written to us as to yes, we are audible enough. Now, we'll set a couple of ground rules and of course the visual is also fine. I think that's also no problem. Oh, there have been quite a few of you guys have been. Thank you, Pragati and Raviraj. And I'm hoping the visual's also taken care of. Hi, everybody. You guys are so sweet. Okay, now, before we proceed, we will first talk 2 minutes about some ground rules that we ought to maintain. So the ground rules essentially are to make sure, like I said, that we have no hiccups in the 2 hours that we have. Now I'm going to require you guys to be very proactive in the chat box because I will need an engagement here. Starting with the first. Is English as a mode of communication fine with everybody, or would you want me to be bilingual? Be very honest because I will know how the conduct is likely to be. So is English fine? Can I be through and through in English, or is bilingual a better idea? What do you want, guys? I'm just waiting for a reply on this front. English is fine? Okay, lovely. So I will mostly be speaking in English, of course. I will be a little bit of, I will be bilingual as well because sometimes, the idea is so easily understood in Hindi, but not in English. So वो समझ में तो आ जाता है, but वो भावना connect नहीं हो पाती as to, why the answer is there. So we'll of course try and speak in Hindi as well, but not so much because I have to make my meters. I have to meet my makers, sorry. Right? And it's an English session that we have. So clearly I cannot depart from English altogether. Second, अगर ऐसा कोई भी क्वेश्चन होता है जिसमें आपको समझ में नहीं आया और यू आर नॉट कन्विंस्ड कि यार ये आंसर तो नहीं सही लग रहा है और वट एवर इट इज, प्लीज डू लेट मी नो देन एंड देयर. सो द फास्टर यू लेट मी नो द क्विकर आई विल बी एबल टू सॉल्व हेल्प. थोड़ी सी यूट्यूब में लेटेंसी होती है, दैट इज आई विल ऑलवेज बी 5 seconds ahead of you, so I will duly wait. Be patient enough till the time we move on to the next question. And in the meantime, while I'm trying to be, figuring out what needs to be done, or I'm trying to help solve the doubt, you can wait or just be busy with maybe checking some Instagram update which has come up. But like I said, you don't go anywhere, you simply stay put. And the last thing is, towards the end, we will have the PPT also uploaded so that you do have access to the PPT as well and that you can solve it at your own disposal. But till the time we are here, I want you to keep giving in your answers. So I'm going to wait for good 30-40 seconds, whatever is the time duration that we require for solving. And please make sure that you're writing your answers in the chat box because with that, I will know which way you're going. And that is how I will be able to hold back and get you back on track in case there is a conceptual or a fundamental problem that you seem to be having. Right? And with that, let us begin. Now, this entire series has been divided into a lot of, classes that we have. Today, essentially, we are going to make sure that we deal with 4 topics. There's going to be some heavy dose of vocabulary, so please be prepared that there's going to be a lot of vocab game. Now, for the vocabulary questions, I want you to keep your phones away. So do not Google, do not take the help of the thesaurus. It's all about you and the word. That is the only interaction that we'll have. We'll touch base with only one reading comprehension today because बिना reading comprehension के तो कोई paper का preparation हो ही नहीं सकता है. We're going to go heavy on parajumbles as well, both subjective and objective because that's how it is asked in the IPM paper or in the JIPMAT or the Rohtak or however that is. And of course, grammar. Who can forget grammar? So heavy on vocab and PJs today, lighter on grammar and RCs today. In the upcoming sessions, we'll turn the tables and we'll go heavy on RC and grammar and we'll go light on the other stuff. With that, what is going to happen is we would have at least apprised ourselves with all possible topics that are likely to happen. Now, is this practice going to be enough? No. You will be expected to be studying more. This is only an attempt for us to make sure, or as you know, to be able to gauge as to how well our preparation seems to be. And without any further ado, let us go. I know no crying smileys, guys, on vocabulary. I know vocab is a task. अच्छा vocabulary के साथ कितना सर खपाएं ये भी तो हो जाता है ना. Till what time will we keep doing vocabulary? The words are not ending, and with people, you know, with इतने दिग्गज लोग like Shashi Tharoor and stuff like that, the words are only coming to origin. So there's no stopping to vocabulary. True. So does it mean that you are to keep learning or should you give up on vocabulary? Neither. Just make sure that you are very well versed with as many words as you come across. Vocabulary is a gamble. There can be no assurance कि ये कर लो यही आएगा और ये नहीं करेंगे तो ये नहीं आएगा. But try and take vocabulary as a personality development activity wherein जितने नए words आएंगे उतने आप खुद articulate बनोगे. And with that you will be able to get ahead on vocabulary. Right? And with that, let us begin. Okay, guys, I need you to talk to me. I don't need you to be talking to the other ones because that way I will also get distracted and I will also go to the chat box, and that's not, of course, what we want. And with that, let us begin with the first. The first activity that we have is called a parajumble. Now, ideally in a parajumble, what do we do? And this is subjective in nature. Subjective का मतलब होता है कि you are going to have to read it to be able to know what is it trying to be talking about. I will just minimize it a little bit so that you are able to view the screen here. And with that, let us begin. Now, whenever we tend to be doing parajumbles, we always begin by first making sure that we read all the sentences. सारे sentences पढ़ना है क्योंकि सबसे पहले हम लोगों को एक opener ढूंढना है. Once we have the opener, we know where the series has to begin with. This doesn't have options. जैसे ही हमारे पास opener हो जाएगा, उसके बाद हम mandatory pair के rules बना के उनको देखना चालू कर देंगे. You all have studied mandatory pairs. You know the 7-8 rules of mandatory pairs. So please make sure chronology, cause and effect, time reference, noun pronoun, general to specific, opener, closer, everything is something that you are putting to play. And with that, let us begin with the first question that we have. Allow me just a minute. Okay, let's begin with the first one. We'll read all sentences first and then begin with what is it that we have. Now, he realized that if he had to fight for freedom, he first needed to understand the people. Now, somebody is a he already over here, which means if I have the pronoun to myself, there must be a noun. So I know for a fact one se to nahi start ho sakta. The Dandi March was an iconic event watched and discussed globally. So I think there was a Dandi March also that was being organized. But Dandi March तो it होगा, ही नहीं होगा. मतलब protagonist कोई और है, but बंदे ने ये भी किया है. तो इससे भी मेरा statement start नहीं हो रहा है. One of the first things that barrister Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, another Gujarati, did after he returned to India from South Africa in 14 was to travel all across the country. Okay, now we know who the he is. The he will have to be Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, which means, and then the next statement also says Gandhi, and then the next statement after that also says he, which means rule मेरा parajumbles का कहता है पहले हमेशा पूरा नाम आएगा. The pronoun will come, sorry, the proper noun will come first, followed by the pronoun. So I know for a fact that of the lot, start तो यहाँ पे 3 से ही होगा. Now, the moment I see that what is one of the first things that he did upon returning from South Africa was to travel all across the country. अब next, normal conversation में भी तो ऐसे होता है ना कि जैसे हमने decide कर लिया कि oh he traveled, तो next will have to be ऐसा क्या देखा उसने. So I think we have read that language earlier, and that is he realized. So upon traveling, what is it? There's a revelation. So it's a cause effect. You traveled for a cause and then you found the cause. So he realized that if he had to fight for freedom, he first needed to understand the people. So he had to know what the people had to say. So clearly यहाँ पे आ गया मेरा 3 के बाद 1. अब देखते हैं what has to come next. Let's read the other two. Gandhi understood the power of symbolism like few other leaders did in India, and in one of the most symbolic political acts across the world, he led a historic march in 30 from the Sabarmati ashram to the coastal village of Dandi. Now I know that Dandi and Dandi have been mentioned over here, so they have to make a mandatory pair. But the only thing I will have to decide is 2-5 होगा या 5-2 होगा. But यहाँ पे तो वो obviously introduce कर रहे हैं ना कि symbolic political act हो रहा है. Historical था वो पूरा. So I know that whatever be the case, it will have to be 5 and 2 coming in together. Right? अब क्या 1 के बाद he needed to realize how to understand people. The next idea of course will have to be as to understand किया ना, तो क्या understand किया? तो देखो यहाँ पे उसने understand करना चालू किया and Gandhi understood the power. So एक चीज में लगी ही तो दूसरी चीज आती है. It cannot just be random. Which means 1 will have to be followed by 4, and that we had already made a pair with the other 2. So the series over here will have to be 3, 1, 4, 5, 2. I hope everybody is clear with this one. Let's get on to the next. Again, let me just zoom the screen a little crunched so that everybody can see. Again, first things first, we are going to read all of the sentences to know what it seems to be talking about. Let's see. He orders great criminals to have noses and ears cut off, or a hand, but he never takes a life. So it is somebody who is a he. Now again, we'll have to figure out who the he is going to be. Now, he is extremely brave, and though he has been successful in his military campaigns, it has been by treaties and cunning negotiations that he's made himself the absolute king of Punjab and or Kashmir. Okay, so whoever this is, he's become the absolute king. Okay, so we have the pros and the cons until now, what he does and what he does not. But this model king is no saint, far from it. Which means the moment you say he's no saint, he's far from it, which means anything after the statement should be about his notoriety. जितनी notorious चीजें बंदे ने की है अब वो होनी चाहिए, because ये बंदा तो far is no saint, he's far from it. तो भैया saint तो नहीं था, वो कोई और ही आदमी था. So that means the wicked episodes will have to come up. He cares nothing for law. So this is also a negative idea. So he has to be an evil over here. He's also shameless rogue. Okay. He's extremely brave. And though he's been successful, it has been because of the cunning negotiations, negative again. He orders great criminals to have their noses. So all of these are negative acts, which means of the lot, we will have to begin with 3. Because it begins by giving us a platform. It gives us a basing as to ये जो king था, ये बहुत शैतान था. He was the kind of king who was very, very, he was very aggressive. He was a very, he was not a very kind king. He was a very heavy-handed king. Now let's see what sort of heavy-handedness did he come up with. So on to 3, since all of them tend to be talking about, the kinds of things that he did, we'll have to make a sequence. So let's try and make a sequence by saying, this says he ordered great criminals to have the noses and ears cut off, or the hand, but he never takes a life. So he's not really done anything in terms of taking the life, but he has done some physical brutality. Okay, this talks about the nose and the ears. This says he's extremely brave, and though he's been successful in the military campaigns, he has been by treaties and cunning negotiations that he's made himself the absolute king of Punjab and Kashmir. Okay, so now this tends to be talking about his mind. We're just trying to draw as to what should be the series. Now, he cares nothing of law or good faith, but he is not cruel. So he's like, he doesn't care for the law. He's not a cruel person, but he does not care about the law at all. He is also shameless rogue and who flaunts the vices as Henry III did in our country, and the fact that he's also this guy. So let's see. We'll have to make sure that we will begin with something which is going to first make a mandatory pair with this. 3 said about the fact that he is no saint and far from it. There's another line that talks about the fact that अब ठीक है, वो सबसे पहले तो अच्छा नहीं है, वो सच में बुरा है. और इसके बाद तो देखो बहुत बुरा भी नहीं है, cruel भी नहीं, not like an extreme बुरा, but somewhere in between बुरा. So this is continuing on the idea of telling us how much बुरा is he, right? So 3 of course will have to be followed by 4 over here. Once we know, but he's not cruel, the next should be a cause effect. So something that will help me understand how can I say he's not cruel. There is an example that has been given. He will go to the extent of ordering to chop the ears and the noses, but not the life. So this can be an evidence to it, which means 4 will then be followed by 1, of course. And then he is extremely brave, though he's not been successful. And then it says he's also a shameless rogue, which means now that we've talked about Henry III, this guy is also a political figure. And the moment we've talking about some military acquisitions and political campaigns is when you can introduce. So both of them have the same vibe to themselves. And also के साथ कोई भी statement होता है वो second होता है, वो कभी first नहीं होता है, which means of the lot मेरा answer यहाँ पे होगा 2 and 5. And this is where I have the series with me. Right then, let's try the next one here. Again, we'll read all of the statements to be able to know what it tends to be speaking about. Now, beginning with, but all of these ways, demonstrative pronoun आ गया. अगर demonstrative pronoun आ गया तो clearly इससे तो नहीं start कर रहे हम लोग. But let's see, but all of these ways to be about to act, knowing the person and then not to act is the verse. The action may be done consciously and with knowledge of the persons in a manner of the older poets. Okay. Here indeed the incident is outside the drama proper, but cases occur where it falls within the action of the play. So there is a play that has been spoken about. Or again, the deed of horror may be done, but done in ignorance, and the tie of kingship or friendship be discovered afterwards. The Oedipus of Sophocles is an example. It is thus too that Euripides makes Medea slay her children. So let's just see, we know that it is a plot, and from the plot is where these actions have been taken. So first things first, we'll have to find out which of the following is going to be an obvious opener. इससे स्टार्ट नहीं कर सकते, इससे स्टार्ट नहीं कर सकते क्लियरली क्योंकि ये दोनों मेरे कंजंक्शंस है. इट से स्टार्ट नहीं कर सकते क्योंकि मुझे पता है कि ये प्रोनाउन से स्टार्ट हो रहा है, which means out of the lot यही दो बच रहे हैं. Here indeed, which means they're trying to pressurize the scenario, that can also not be the start. So of the lot, the start will have to be with statement number 2. Now that we have an obvious opener to ourselves, here is where we can train ourselves for. So the action may be done consciously or with knowledge of the person in the manner of the older poet, which means the next will have to be what is going to be the older poet or what is going to be the following idea. So of the lot, it is thus too that Euripides makes Medea slay her children, because all of the other things are then going to be about this incident. So next comes in 5, which is followed by, of course, 2. We then have, or again, the deed of horror may be done, but again in ignorance, and the tie of kinship or friendship be discovered afterwards. And then we have another example that has been given, which is going to talk, and since it says or, so it's a flip of this situation. So 4, then followed by, of course, 5, then followed by 4. And then between the two we have, once we've talked about the example that has been given, so we know that this is going to be a play. And now that this is a play, there is a mention wherein it says, here indeed the incident is outside the drama proper, but cases occur where it falls within the action of the play that has been mentioned, which means the next will have to be 3 followed by, but all of these ways, which means the summed up here. So we have the Euripides or we have the Oedipus. Either ways, both of it. All of these, to be about the act of knowing the person and then not the act is the verse, which means towards the end we will have option 1. I hope this was clear. So all what we do is we take little parts and then we join the jigsaw together. That is just how the ideas will have to be. Let's get on to the next one now. So we'll do 5, we'll take a moment's pause and then we'll see how well are we understanding our content. Let's see over here. Again, we'll have to be reading all of them. So let's just do that much. By the time they encountered extremism, they had already developed a lot of negative emotional characteristics such as depression, anger, and frustration. So by the time this happened, you know, all things had already gone south. Problems such as child abuse, sexual abuse, parental neglect, and family substance abuse were common. Okay. Now this talks about, you know, it lays the ground for what are the common problems that are there. That's when hate groups can step in, giving these young people not only an outlet for channeling those feelings, but also a social and safe haven to practice them. Okay, that's where another people come in. Many of them grew up in unstable families, though they were not necessarily economically deprived. Okay, So maybe now, out after reading the four sentences, we found an opener for us because the opener tells us that where is the breeding of the problem, the origin of the problem that begins. There were several common denominators in the backgrounds of white supremacists. So, of the lot, we know for a fact that we have to be beginning with five because we now have the people who seem to be the sufferers. So, we begin with there are several common denominators in the backgrounds of white supremacy. So there are a lot of common denominators. Followed by, if that's the opener, the next line will have to be which of the following are these denominators. So all the denominators over here are going to be many of them. So it's about the several common denominators in the backgrounds of. So many of them grew up in unstable families. So what has been the issue there? They've grown up. They're not that they're economically not sound. They have a lot of money, but then there are other underlying problems. So they've grown up in unstable families. So next can be followed as 4, of course. Then we are going to talk about, now that they were in unstable families, what were the kind of problems that they had. Back to statement number 2, because the problems of child abuse, sexual abuse, parental neglect, so on and so forth. So next can be 2, because 5, 4 and 2 of course make a trio of the kind of problem that's been going on. And by the time they encountered extremism, they had already developed a lot of negative emotional characteristics. So now this is a cause effect. If these are the causes, these are going to be the effect. We know they have to be a mandatory pair with each other. And clearly towards the end, that's when hate groups step in, giving these young people. So these are these tormented, tortured, emotionally tortured young people. Not only an outlet, but channeling, but also social. That's when the hate groups come in. So ultimately, it is going to be statement number 3 towards the end, with this being the series. I hope so far we're going strong. We're able to understand all things that seem to be happening. And with that, let's get to the last of the subjective parajumbles that we have. And then see, these are just 4 sentenced. Let's go. One of the thousands of situations and potential cases that could have been investigated by the ICC, how many have actually come to trial? Okay, so it begins by asking a question. The ICC was established. Okay, I think we have a visible opener here because it's trying to be talking about when it was done. So any statement that is going to give us a very generic outlook, which is going to give us a welcoming idea, is what is always going to be the opener for us. So the ICC was established in July 2002 following the adoption of the Rome Statute with the goal to investigate and prosecute the most serious violations of international law and human rights. Okay. And because the other ones say remarkably, and only 44 have been indicted, which means there have been cases onto the ICC. That's not something that have been talked about. So our opener becomes statement number 2. Once we have 2, and then it talks about the fact that following now with the goal to investigate and prosecute the most serious violation, the next will have to be what are the violations? What are the prosecutions that it has done? So there was a statement that we read of the thousands of situations and potential cases that could have been investigated by, how many have actually come to trial? So the next statement over here is going to be 1. Only the 44 people have been indicted with 45 cases before the ICC out of the many possible situations and cases. So there is an underlying criticism. There is a reprimand. There is a sarcasm that's coming around that, big body. How much is it really doing? How many people have really come to trial? That's the way, that's the vibe that seems to be going. So the next, of course, will be an answer to this. So how many have actually come to trial? Only 44. And clearly, remarkably, out of these 45 cases, this is where they come from. Only 14 have resulted in complete proceedings and just 9 ended in conviction. So the last will have to again be a cause and an effect. So our series being 2, 1, 3 and 4. All right. And with that, we come to an end to Parajumbles. Let's see how are we coping. How does it seem to be going so far? All okay? Okay, instead of you guys, of course, talking to each other, I think a good idea would just be that, why don't you tell me how it's been holding? Are you holding the fort? We're just 5 questions down with, of course, so many more. And we need to know how well have we gone so far. Did you all get the answers right? Did you understand why the sequence was put together and what was the psyche behind putting the sequence together? If all of that's been taken care of, should we move to the next set of questions that we have? Okay, so I'll go a little slow. What I'll do is I'll give you a pause moment of maybe 1 minute to solve. Works. Okay. 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 Ma'am, give us 1 minute to solve. I'll do that. Which is why I wanted to, have a review as to how is it going. आज डे अच्छा नहीं है क्या हो गया भाई ऐसा क्या हो गया चलो all right and with that let us move to the next question that we have. Now I'm going to give you a minute to be able to solve and once I have you guys having solved we will then begin. So I'm just going to put myself on a corner and let's start with question number 6. You get a minute's time and then we will begin with the discussion. Please start. Okay, चलो फिर हम लोग अपना discussion start करते हैं. We have these answers coming in and most of you guys have the answers as A. Okay, now let's see. We have a word that has been used incorrectly. We have to choose which of the following is going to be incorrect of the lot. Now the two words that we have over here are chaste and chased. Now chased is a past form of the verb chase which is किसी को पकड़ना. Chaste, chaste, on the other hand, basically means abstaining from any unlawful activity, mostly sexual in nature. So, chaste basically means, the word chaste basically means somebody who is very pure, somebody who's not had any sort of sexual indulgence whatsoever. So, एक हो गया दौड़ने वाला, ये वाला, और एक हो गया chaste. So, now let's see which of the following is going to be the incorrect word version for us. Let's go. The cat chased the mouse around. Now clearly we know this is wrong because यहाँ पे होना चाहिए था chased. उसने mouse को दौड़ाया. उसको mouse को cleanse या pure थोड़ी करना था. Right? So there was of course no abstaining from sexual intercourse or sexual, any sort of association that way. उसका तो meaning आया ही नहीं, which actually the word means. So nothing of that sort at all, which means we have the answer, and of course the answer will have to be A. बाकी देखते हैं. He chased me through the space while we lay panting on the shores. This is correct. I saw myself proud of the gentle severity of her features, revealing to the entire chaste and faithful spouse. Yes, that's also correct. In the past, a woman needed to be chaste to make good marriage. That is, she had to be very pure. Yes, that is also correct, which means the correct answer will be A. Good job there. Let's get to the next one. Try your hands onto the next one and ping your answers, please. Answers, guys. Pick something. What do you think we need here? Okay, so we have, I'm getting onto the meaning, but we need to know. So we have A coming in as the answer. Okay, now, loon, Loon, loon basically means a sorry figure. Loon comes from the word lunatic, which means somebody who has, a bout of crazy, unreasonable freak. That is what it becomes. So now, of the lot, all what we have to do is we'll have to see which of the following is going to be a misfit of the lot. Now, in the absence of a viable culprit, Loon herself becomes the chief suspect due to her hobby of restoring digital watches. Now, okay, this has been written in capital. It is being used as a proper noun. So it could also be a name that ways. So it's being used in the context, that is contextually, it is being used in the context of a name, which means this is going to be the right usage. So over here, okay, again, contains a word that has been used incorrectly. We have to find out. So here we don't need to worry about what the answer is going to be, because since it is being referring to a person, we've just qualified it to be the name. Not much can be done, so we'll just leave this as it is. Next. In addition, isolates of St. Paul from loons were found resistant to tetracycline. Okay, now over here, from loons, as in this context, what is being talked about is that there were people, of course, who were from St. Paul. And then the moment I go about by saying that they were resistant, it talks about the fact that these people, so these, I don't know what was wrong, they were from loons were found resistant. So again, it's talking about the fact that what is, I mean, a very sorry figure, or in a way that, it's like these, what are these stupid, worthless people? Why are they like this? They're just resistant to the idea that we have. Okay. Now, next. Is Loon herself dead and investigating the case as a memory or a ghost? Okay. Now, if only we weren't such a lovesick loon. Now, over here, of course, the loon is going to be, we so many times, we say Looney Tunes. There was also a cartoon that came up, wherein they went about by saying that is Looney Tunes. So Looney Tunes was that character who was really crazy. That is how it is. So loon is also taken in the sense that, you are just mad. So yes, you can be a lovesick loon, which means between B and C is where the answer will have to be. Now, of the lot, what is going to be wrong over here is going to be C and not D, because had we to use it as a name, it would still not be loon. It would have to, of course, be, we could have used it just as if we had used it in the first one. So I know B is also like, getting a little itchy for us. But in addition, isolates of St. Paul from loons were found. So over here, the moment you say from loons, of course, as in, they were the kind of people जो नहीं होते जिनको कभी pollen से problem हो जाती है, इतने sensitive लोग होते हैं, कहीं से भी दिक्कत हो जाती है. So that is how the idea came out to be. So yes, the correct answer is going to be C, which is incorrect in nature. Let's try the next. This one's easy. The words that we have are reseeded and receded. So I'll just give you what the meaning of the two words are, and then you can begin. The word reseed, of course, will have to be reseed, exactly, right? So the word reseed over here will have to be the kind of word which is going to mean something which has again been seeded. It has the word re and seed. Seed is bona. So when you sow something, that is what becomes a reseed. The other is recede, that is piche hona. So the water receded. So to take back something is what is recede. Try your hands now. Tell me which of the following is going to be the correct answer. Quickly, in the chat box, please. Are daro nahi questions dekh ke. It is all going to be okay. We need to see which of the following is going to be the wrong answer here. Okay, we have D coming in back to back. Chalo dekhte hain fir isme. The hope of reaching an agreement has receded with the passage of time. Okay. So अभी बहुत bleak लग रहा है कि कुछ खास होने नहीं वाला है उसमें. Make sense? This is correct. हमें तो incorrect बताना था. So this cannot be an answer. As the water receded, the dandelions reseeded themselves. Makes sense? This is also correct. The flood waters receded as the rain stopped. So they went back. Makes sense? At times, some plants receded themselves, saving the work of the gardener. No, this is not this reseed. We need the one with this. It has to be sapling wala seed, not piche jaane wala seed. So very good job. The answer over here is going to be option D. Too good, guys. Chalo, agla dekhte hain abhi. Next, question number 10. Okay, we'll just very quickly discuss what these words mean. So the two words that we have are wane and wane. VEIN, vein, is what flows, what takes the deoxygenated blood in the body, the arteries and the veins wala. VAIN wala vein is when things become futile. So you keep saying, right, it has been gone in vain. So it means something jo bahut hi zyada kharab ho gayi hai, that is what becomes of vain. So something that is useless. Now try and give me the answer quickly. Oh, lovely. So you all have B coming in back to back. Chalo, then let's see what do we have. He was so scared and he felt the adrenaline moving quickly through his veins. Makes sense? Because he was feeling so pumped up. That is how it was just geared up. The vein of satirical anger runs through all his work. That is, the kind of pain that it has. Okay, all right. But the moment I go about by saying the vein of satirical anger, do you think that is going to be the right way? Shouldn't we need the word vein? That is what would have, gone in better. Because in the contextual manner, you can say the vein of satirical anger runs through his work. But the moment you say runs through his work, it means it is in his very spirit. It is in everything that he does. So here it says vein. Normal ways, it's like I hate him with every vein of my body. That's how it is said, right? So it's not VAIN. Maybe in another contextual as mannerism, of course, but definitely not this. So this can be an answer for us. You all had B as well. So clearly, he kept calling him in vain. He didn't look back. बोलता क्या बेचारा गया, effortless हो गया उसका पूरा. If the government doesn't make any change, all of our efforts will be in vain. That is, everything is going to go futile. Everything is just going to go down. It's going to be doomsday altogether. So makes sense, which means yes, the correct answer is going to be option B. Very good, guys. Okay, let's see. One of the word below contains a word that has been used incorrectly. Choose. Now, the word has not been bold-faced. You will have to choose. You will have to find which word is it likely to be. Let's see. I'll give you a moment to solve this. Quickly, guys. The two words that we have are rain and rain. Now, REIN, rain, means to strap a horse. Right? It's like you're strapping a horse, which means you're trying to control. So anytime you use anything to control is what is called a rein. It is used in normal sense also when you want to stop somebody or when you want to restrain someone. On the other hand, reign is a legacy generally used for kings. So his reign was such, he had a very prosperous reign, he had a very, worthless reign. So that is how. So the kind of kingship one has is what is called a reign. Give me the answer, guys. Which of the following do you think has been incorrectly used over here? Okay, not bad. So we have one coming up. She gently pulled the reins to the right to steer the horse towards, of course, ये वाले rein में तो REIN होना चाहिए, ये नहीं तो ये clearly मेरा answer हो गया. The answer will be A. बाकी देख लेते. By having free reign over her design, that is control, makes sense. The emperor reigned over emperor का legacy था, correct है. The CEO's brief reign, of course, CEO doesn't have to only be anybody who's had a legacy, anybody who's had a rule, right, is called what is called a reign. So this is also correct, which means the correct answer will be option A. Okay, chalo, next dekhte hain abhi. The words that we have are council and counselled. Now, council is a group of members who've come together, who become the governing body, the decision-making body. Counseling, on the other hand, is advisory. So when you advise people, which is why we have counselors nowadays, right? So let's see, what do we have as the answer over here? Oh, too good, guys. You're slamming it hard. Isn't that so cool? Yes, the answer is going to be option C. Let's see now. The Women Council voted for the free bus and cab services to the college. Yes, I mean, there was a council. It was a group of women that made the representation, correct? So this is not our answer because we want something which is incorrect. As my teachers have counseled me, I will take studies seriously, makes sense. I think you need an expert counsel. You must talk to your coach. This is not the council. We need the one with this one. So, of course, that's not what it is. The members of the city council are going for a trip. So, it is the mayor, and maybe all of those other people that we have. So that is also going to be correct. So yes, the answer is going to be option C. Okay, now starting from the next, we have analogy. So we have to find what is the relationship between the words that we have. Give it a try and then I shall tell you what all of the other words are likely to mean. Let's go. In the meantime, I'm just going to read your chats because your chats also look pretty interesting. Solve it till the time I'll just be busy. Guys, like kar do. Kisko like kar do, Arnav? Okay, so we have the answer coming up, but Arnav wants something to be liked. I don't know. Is it his comment? Is that what you want? Chalo, okay. All right then. Let's see. Can anybody also help me with what is the relationship over here? Why do we have this as the answer? So there are a lot of D's coming in, but what is the relationship that you have established, guys? Now over here, yes, the answer is going to be D. That's lovely. The answer will be D. I agree to this, but why? What is the relationship? Now, pulmonary is to lung. What is the analogy here? What is the reference? What is the commonality? What are we looking at? So when I say pulmonary is to lungs, it is something that relates to the lungs. It's the kind of relation that they have. So it's nothing but, it is similar to how, so pulmonary vein and pulmonary artery, all of these are nothing but, they're the associates of the lungs. Likewise, our answer is going to be nephritic is to kidney because nephritic again relates to kidney. Okay. During respiration, the exchange of gases takes place in the living form in the lungs from pulmonary. Yes. Pulmonary system contains the, yes, it is an associate. Likewise, nephritic is to kidney. Now, cardiac is to valves can't be an answer for us because cardiac relates to the heart, of course, but valves are a part inside the heart. That's not what we are looking at. So this pair does not align. Venal is to arteries. Now this is wrong because venal is going to be anything that refers to the veins, right? Now it is not, of course, the arteries. This can't be. Gastroenterological is to digestion. Now gastro relates to anything that is, of course, in relation to the digestive system, but digestive system is a process. It is not an organ like the lungs or the kidneys. So while this is also, I mean, it is an associate here again, but this is a process. This is not an organ. We wanted an organ over here, which means the correct answer will be D. Good job there. Let's try the next. Eclogue is to poem. Let's see what do we have over here. Poem rhythm. आप कॉमर्स के स्टूडेंट हो तो क्या हुआ? I'm sure you'll be able to get the answer right here because these are normal English words. It's not the kind of word that has to be pro biology. So chill. Okay, guys, waiting for the next answer quickly. चलो वाला क्वेश्चन खत्म हो गया, अब अगले वाले पे आओ. Let's get back to the other one. Answer, guys, for the 14th. Can anybody give it a try? Okay, so we have B and C. Now the correct answer over here is going to be madrigal is to song. What is the relationship? Eclogue is a type of a poem. Likewise, madrigal is also a type of a song. So madrigal, the kind of, synonymous relationship that they have is that one is a form of the wider category, that is the general category. Let's see what the other ones. Dirge is to funeral. Now a dirge is a mournful song or a piece of music which is associated with funeral. It is not a subset of funerals altogether. Like eclogue is a type of poem. So there are lots of poems. Eclogue is a type. No, but dirge is a specific song for funerals. So this cannot be. Elegy is to praise is again going to be wrong because elegy also means mournful. Anything wherein you're going to lament. Aap dukh dikhana chahte ho. So of course it is not going to be in relation to praise. Burlesque is to play. Now burlesque again is a form of theatrical entertainment which is being done, but it is not specifically related to the play in the same way. It's not a part of the play. right? It's a specific category of play. It is not a part of play. So while none of these meet the requirement, the correct answer is going to be C, which is madrigal is to song. Let's see next. This one's very easy. Parquet is to wood. Now I'll give you a hint. Parquet over here clearly means the kind of design. So a parquet is going to be, let's see, a flooring pattern which is made up of a lot of woods. So a lot of woods are required to make a parquet, which means a lot of something is going to be required to make a extension. Eclogue rhythm, because eclogue is a short, it's a short poem. Of course, Joss, if you're going to score good in English and all of the other ones, you have a very good chance. Why would you even begin to talk about that? Okay, so we have A and B that's coming in. Now let's see, what do we have? The correct answer over here is going to be B. Parquet is a lot of wood that is being used for flooring. Likewise, when a lot of glass, random glass pieces are brought together, it is called a mosaic. So the kind of relationship that we share over here is a mosaic is typically an artwork that is made up of from smaller glasses. Likewise, parquet is specifically a kind of flooring which is made with smaller shards of wood. So they have the same relationship to each other. Now, color is to painting, of course, is not, because color is an element that is used in painting. It is not a lot of colors make a painting. That's not what it is. This can't be. Potpourri is to medley. Now, potpourri and medley are synonyms. Potpourri means a mixture of a lot of things, and that is what? The dried flowers. I mean, a lot of center tables you're going to see, there are a lot of dried flowers that are kept. That is what is a potpourri. Now, potpourri is a concept of medley, that is mixture coming along. So this is not what is going to be. Collage is to tapestry. Now, a collage is going to be anything which is made up of a lot of material brought together. That's what a collage is. Photos लगाते हैं ना बहुत सारी चीजों की. Collage हमेशा बहुत सारे material को एक साथ लाके आता है. But it is not specifically. Tapestry is a type of textile. Mostly पर्दों में जो रहता है, and it's the art that is being used. It's not a material. So this can't be, which means the correct answer is going to be option B here. Okay. Next, lurk is to wait. Let's see what we have over here. Let's see the next one. Lurk is to wait. Okay, so we have A and B that's coming in. Now, I'll wait for more. Now, let's see. Lurk basically means to secretly wait for someone. That is lurking, which is why so many times in all of the detective movies, you'll see, people are lurking around, right? So it is a secret wait. So it's like a secret version of something. So whatever be the kind of relationship, it has to be a secret version of something, isn't it? Now let's see. Boost is to elevate. Now they're synonyms. Boost is not something that is done secretly. It is something that can be done openly. No. Deplete is to drain. Again, there is no secrecy. Abscond is to depart. Abscond means you've gone without anyone's information or notice. So it's a secret departure. Makes the same sense as this. Bilk is to cheat. Now, this is not going to be the answer because bilk and cheat are synonyms. There is no secrecy, the kind of element that we were looking around over here. This is also not going to be the answer, which means the correct answer will be option C. Unfortunately, nobody really had C. Okay, nobody really had C. I hope you understand where exactly did you go wrong in this one. And let's see the next. The next analogy, guys. Parenthesis is to explanation. Now, I hope everybody knows what a parenthesis is. A parenthesis is generally used to set off or interject additional information. And of course, clearly that is the kind of relationship that we are looking here. So what is the answer going to be? Okay, guys, the chatting can take a pause. I need you guys to focus here. Rohtak and JIPMAT and Indore, everything comes from here. It is not from the Marathi chats that are happening. So let's just get back here. Onto the screen, everybody, and very quickly, please give me the answer. Okay, so we have the answer coming in as C. Now let's see. We talked about what parenthesis is to explanation. So parenthesis basically is used to set off or interject anything which is an additional information. So that is what an explanation, the extension of it is going to be. Likewise, ellipses, omission, this is what is going to be an answer. Ellipses are always put whenever there is an idea that has been omitted and that you want to continue something over there. Ellipses are always shown with 3 dots. So this is where you show that there is more information that is required. So both are extensions. Parenthesis is an extension of explanation. Ellipsis again does the same as extension for omission. The answer will be A. Let's see why not the other ones. Asterisk is to exaggeration. Asterisk is whenever you want to add an information, it's not exaggeration, it's addition. Can't be. Synopsis is to affectation. Synopsis means whenever we tend to be giving a condensed, a summary form to something. Affectation basically means artificial behavior. There is no relationship at all. Apostrophe is to annotation. Now, annotation basically means when you want to add a note, like pin something. Apostrophe is not what it is. Apostrophe is when we tend to be putting something in contraction, or whenever we want to use we use an apostrophe to be able to show possession. So none of this is going to be the correct answer. The correct answer is going to be option A. Right then, and with that, let us get from 18 to 20. We have contextual words. We have to see of the lot which of the following is going to work the best. I'll give you a moment to be able to try your hands on it, and then is when we will begin. Please start. The next one. Okay, so we have the answers being pitched in, which is option D. Okay, that's too good. And then let's see. All right, then let's see what do we have. Now, whenever you have a contextual meaning to yourself, the first thing that you must do is read the sentences just with the blanks so that you know what grammar are you looking for and what is the kind of word. Is it a positive word or is it a negative word that you're using? Once you have those to yourself, you will have a much better idea as to what is it that you need to go ahead with. So let's see. Technology and products can bring about mindfulness. Good use of the technology can dash responses to person rather than dash. So of course, the kind of answer that we want is good technology is going to aid. Now let's see which of the following word has the kind of meaning that aid is going to provide. Now, good use of technology can harmony responses. Now that's not, because this is a noun, that's not what we are looking at. This is not going to, we want a verb sort of. Consonants will also not fit, and not will abasement, because we know for a fact that they are all nouns. We want something which is going to act as a verb over here, which means the correct or the only option that we have with the first word itself is tailor. Let's fit now. Tailor responses to person rather than spamming. A well-designed product will do away reasons for likely claim rejection, so that even if the buyer does not fully understand the insurance contract, the claims will not get properly settled. So there was only one obvious option, with D being the correct answer. I hope this one was absolutely clear. Let's get to the next. On to the 19th one. Please go. Okay, so we have the answer coming in, and that's a majority of C. But I'll just give another 10 seconds for everybody to be able to finish. एक बार देखिए इसमें क्या है. Good job over here. Let's see. Due to dash of time and technology and world events, newspapers have dash, very dash in our day-to-day life. So let's see. Due to now in current times, if you want to relate the statement, of course, the technology and the time has only been accelerated. So we want something which is going to have the idea of precedement, anything which is going to have an idea of furtherance. Let's see. Due to the advancing of time and technology, this can't be because we're not looking for a verb here. Due to the advanced of the verb, the tense doesn't fit here. Due to the advancement of, makes sense, due to the furtherance of time and technology and world events. Okay, let's just consider this, although not a very good fit in relation to advancement, but okay, we may just give it a try. Let's see. Newspapers have come very, no, it has to be become very. So yes, the answer is going to be option C. Next, on to the 20th one. Please start. All right, then we have B coming in as the answer. Let's see what do we have over here now. Biodiversity is the dash of different species of plants and animals on the earth. So let's see whatever this has to be. Does it have to be absence? No, that's not what biodiversity is. It's a classic definition. Presence, yes. Decrement, it cannot be because that's not what biodiversity is. Bio means living. Diversity comes from the word to diversify. That is living, different living beings coming in. Erosion, again, a negative word. I wanted a positive word. There was only one option over here. Hands down, the answer will have to be option B. We don't even have to struggle and rack our heads anymore because we know what the answer is already. Let's go next. Now choose the correct idiom to make the sentence contextually correct. There is an idiom over here, but this is wrong. We have to see, as per the situation, which of the following idiom is going to be the perfect fit. Please go. Let's start. Okay, we have A and B coming in. Let's see what do we have then. When she realized she forgot her keys inside, she felt like she was in a walking on air situation. Now, she's left the keys inside, which means it will have to be a troubling situation now. So, anything that is used to talk about a situation which is very difficult or it is very troubling or challenging or is filled with adversity is to be in a tight spot. To be walking on air basically means to be very elated, to be super duper happy. Cold feet is when you don't know what to do, when you've got to numb. Burning the midnight oil is something that you guys are doing currently. That is to put in a lot of effort and make a mountain out of a molehill is Hindi में जो बोलते हैं राई का पहाड़ बनाना. So to stir a storm in a teacup. छोटी सी बात होती है एकदम उसको exaggerate करके बहुत ज़्यादा बड़ा कर देते हैं. So the answer over here is going to be option A. Next, please. Let's go. Okay, let's see what do we have for 22nd. After a long day at work, I was so exhausted that I felt like I was jumping on the bandwagon. Now, when you jump on a bandwagon, it simply means that everybody seems to be following a trend and you've also added on to it. So, a bandwagon is like a full barat. So, you've also jumped onto. So, whenever there is a Snapchat or an Instagram trend that comes, everybody jumps onto that bandwagon. That is what it is. But the statement over here is after the long day at work, I was so exhausted. So it's been a long day and that the person has been so exhausted. So whatever be the answer has to have that I was running on empty. So running on empty is taken from the cars. So when the fuel is off, your needle goes on to E. So when you're running on empty, which means you're almost on the empty side of energy. So the answer is going to be C. To bark up the wrong tree basically means to go and start doing something which was not intended or which was not required. On cloud nine is to be very happy. All yours is to be very attentive, something that I want you guys to be right now. So none of these are going to fit. The answer becomes C. Next. Now please understand the question very carefully. It says the following question contains a sequence with one blank only. Below are given 6-word answers. You have to choose the option with choices that can make the sentence complete. So there are 2 words which will fit in right. We have to see what the words are likely to be. Now let's see what these words mean. Reprieve. Reprieve as of a word means a cancellation or a postponement. A cancellation of punishment is what is a reprieve. Reprise basically is a repeated passage. So a lot of times we have reprised version of songs that come. So it's like a new age repeated version. So it's like a repeated version. Remorse is when you show sadness or when you show the fact that you are in deep regret or guilt or something that has happened. Compunction as of a word means the feeling of guilt again, right? When you've done something and that guilt kicks in. Next, retrieve. So retrieve as of a word means to bring back. It is to bring back. And scrabble as of a word means to scratch something to be finding. So sab cheeze titar bitar kar dena. That is what is scrabble. So just to put something in a very disorderly or unorganized manner is what is scrabble. Now let's see which of the following is going to be the best combination of word. Please try. Okay, so we have the answer coming in of the lot. So we have B, which seems to be the raging answer over here. Let's try B altogether. The dictates of the ruthless tyrant were carried out by his mercenaries without any. So obviously he was a ruthless tyrant. A tyrant is a dictator, a ruler, and he was ruthless. Mercenaries are going to be the people that he has. So of course those kind of people are going to carry on all of the orders and all things bad without any guilt. So yes, the kind of answer that I want was remorse and compunction, because both have the idea of sadness to themselves. So the correct answer is going to be option B. Next, let's again very quickly talk about what these words tend to mean. First, regurgitate. So regurgitating or regurgitate basically means to bring up the food again. So if you've seen cows, they eat all the food, and when once they're under the shade chilling, they tend to bring it all in the mouth to chew better for digestion. That activity is called regurgitate. So anything that is to bring the food back in the mouth is what is regurgitate. Retribute. Retribute means when you have afflicted some sort of punishment on someone as a vengeance, right? So it is a punishment of vengeance. That is what it is. Gesticulating comes from the word gesture. So gesticulating basically means when you tend to be using a lot of gestures. There is this meme that I recently read, and that is, I can't keep my mouth shut because when I do that, my eyes do the subtitles. So something like that. So basically gesticulating is when you're using a lot of gesture, very dramatic way of speaking. Convey, convey is to say, to express. Contort basically means to change shapes, which is why we talk about contortions. So contortion basically is to be twisting or bending things. And conforming. So conforming basically means to comply to the laws or to the rules or the orders, whatever it is. So which of the following is going to be the right word? We've got D over here that's coming up. Let's see which of the following is going to have the two words. The man was last seen wildly from the window of the red vehicle that he was being transported in. So the man was last seen, let's see, D, gesticulating from the window. Okay, and then we have E, contorting from the window. So yeah, sorry. Right. So we have C and D, which means, okay, yes, the answer can be option 4, which is going to be D. Very good job here. Next, again the same stuff. We need to be knowing what the meaning of the words are going to be. Let's again talk about what these words mean, just so that we know what the answer is going to be. Getting on to the next, scuttle. Now, a scuttle basically is a metal container with a handle. It's a metal container with handle. Skirmish is, some sort of random fights that happen. So it's the kind of irregular fighting. Let's take it like that. Irregular fights. Smudge basically means whenever you want to blur something, like smear a mark or something. So it is smearing. Altercations means disagreements. So basically to have a noisy argument with someone is an altercation. Contrabands are things that are banned, things that you use which are banned. Ridges are the kind of pave walks, like the narrow hilltops that we tend to have alongside watersheds or mountains is what are ridges. So now let's see. The bordering area was notorious for the past dash between the Syrian army and the militants. So of course, what are the kinds of idea that we want? There will have to be. Do we have answers coming in? Okay, so we have C coming in, and yes, the correct answer is going to be option C. Let's see over here. The bordering area was notorious for the past skirmishes, and the other one being altercations between the series. Right, because the kind of idea that we want has to be something that has to do with a fight or any sort of nuisance value that the statement tends to add up. So yes, the answer is going to be option C here. Next. Let's see what do we have over here. Same stuff. So we'll see what these words again are likely to mean. First, imbue. Imbue means to inspire. Imbue is always whenever we're trying to permeate a feeling or a quality. That is what is to imbue. Profligate. So profligate basically is anyone who is a very dissolute person. Licentious. Somebody who's very lewd. Next, amalgamate. Amalgamate means to combine or to bring together, so it is unite. Vituperate means to reprimand someone very, very badly, so to be very acerbic, to criticize heavily. Scavenge is to hunt, so whenever you are in search of something. Rummage again means whenever you search through something and you make a chaos out of it. So when you search for something in a very hastily manner, that is what is rummage. And let's see, it was not implied that it was part of the duty of the Bembridge Green Committee to dash the seashore. So it was not implied as to what is it likely to be. Let's see what do we have as the answers. We've got A coming in, still waiting for more. Okay, now the hint over here could have been all what you have to do is you have to look for synonymous set of words, because we have to find the set of two words that are going to put here, that are going to be placed here. So act smart, because it's not hard work, it's always smart work. So out of the lot, the only two ideas that have commonality between them will have to be E and F, which means the correct answer will have to be A. There is no other option that is available to us. On to the next. Now, which of the phrases given against a statement should replace the bold one, making it grammatically correct? So of the lot, you have to tell me which of the following is going to be the correct grammatical usage. Let's go, everybody. Let's start. Okay, I think we need to get back. Now, Rhythm has been very interesting in the chat box, but I think you can use a lot of your energy onto solving the questions as well, my dear. And then we'll do a nice chit chat towards the end, just figuring out what all this is. Let's go, everybody. 27. What do you think the answer is going to be? Be mindful about it and then see. Okay, so we have one answer that's come up, that's A. कुछ आएगा ना रिदम, एक बार पढ़ो तो, एक बार देखो तो, सब आएगा. I trust your instinct, why can't you trust yours? Just give it a try. You'll get along. Acha, theek hai. So we have A, B, and C being the three answers. Let's see which of the following is going to be correct. Now it says if the sentence is correct as it is given and no correction is required, you mark your answer as no correction required. Now let's see. The fact that millions of people share the same vices does not make these vices virtues. The fact that they share so many errors does not make the errors to be the truth. Okay, let's begin with the fact that millions of people shares the same. Now that's a subject verb disagreement, because the subject complement over here is millions of people. Millions is plural. If it is plural, my verb will not take the S. It will drop the S. So it is not going to take shares. It is just going to take share, which means both A and C stand eliminated. Clearly, right? Now let's see. The fact that millions of people share the same voice. Now it cannot be. All of them don't have the same voice. Everybody will have their each vices. Vices are all the bads. So this will have to take a plural again, which means the given statement is correct. The answer is going to be D. The entire subject verb agreement in the statement is being maintained. So the fact that millions of people share the same vices, it will have to be in plural. Does not, because does is now going to the sharing activity, which is again singular, does not make these vices, vices again is plural, virtues. That's what the statement is trying to be talking about. I hope this one's clear. Let's see the next one. 28th. Please start. Yes, Ayush, the COET syllabus is also pretty similar to these. In the context that the questions are going to be easier, the English is not so leveled up again, but the kind of questions that you're going to have are going to belong to the same category. So maybe, format-wise, it will not be very different. In fact, the all of English, irrespective of whichever examination you give, has pretty much the same thing. But yes, the complexity of the questions and the number of questions are going to change. Okay. So we have again an A and a B to it. Now let's see what's happening here. The phenomena of wild animals falling into wells, whether hyenas, leopards, or jungle cats, is being increasingly reported now over here. I know for a fact that is correct over here because it says the phenomenon of. Now again, the subject is phenomenon. It is singular. If it is singular, it will have to be is, which means anything with R will now not be an answer for me. Eliminate it. Now either A or D, let's see. Now, falling into the well, whether hyenas. Now that says if hyena, leopard or jungle is being increasingly. Now we don't want if, we want whether. So it's like whoever, whether, whatever animal it be it a hyena, be it a leopard, be it a jungle cat, all of these are increasingly being reported. So if will not be, if is a hypothesis. That's not what it is. We're talking about choices here. So whether it be either of these animals. So again, the answer over here is going to be D, which is no correction required. Let's try the next. This one's very easy. I'm sure you'd be able to do this. So Tanya, JIPMAT का paper is comparatively easier than the other ones, right? So Rohtak and IPM से easy होता है, but level उसका भी थोड़ा सा elevated ही होता है, because of course, you know, they're getting you into a very coveted college altogether, so they have their reputation to maintain, and to be able to cater to that reputation, वैसे exams होंगे ही होंगे. What is the level of vocab in CUET? Well, in CUET, the vocabulary is pretty easy. So if you're able to solve IPM, CUET is definitely under your wing. Okay, the answer for the next one. Okay, we have D coming in as the choice. Now let's see. It all begins with a chronic asthmatic mother in a semi-dark room without electricity who would stay awake all night, coughing painfully. All right, now let's see. Who would stay awakened all night? No, that is not what is going to be, because we just want who would stay awake all night. Now, whom will stay? Now, this is an objective casing pronoun. We want a subjective casing pronoun. So, of course, who is what I want. Who would stay awake all night cuffed? Now, that will not be something which will fit in to the parallelism of the statement, because the statement over here starts with it all begins, and then there is a situation that is being narrated, and this is a continuous part of the situation. So, of course, cuffing is what it is, not cuffed. That would have made it a past tense. And who would stay awake all night cuffing is what? So, that's a hat trick of D. The correct answer is going to be option D. Let's see the next one. 30th, please start. Oh, you'll be able to improve your vocabulary, Tanya. Don't worry. Make sure on daily basis you're doing 25 high frequency words, right? So just make sure that whatever is the study material that you have, and that you've been able to collate the words from there, and that's it. Okay, so we have the answer coming up for the 30th, and it is B. That's surprisingly taken majority. Chalo dekhte hain isme. Titled To the Bone. The book showcased the, okay, now there is a subject verb disagreement over here. Why? Because the moment I say the book, it is singular. If it is singular, my verb will have to take an S to denote. So it will have to be showcases. Anything which does not say showcases will now not be an answer. Okay. Now, title to the bone, the book showcases. Okay, now it cannot be a book because we have a specific name. So we want a definite article. We don't want an indefinite article. C again stands eliminated. Now between the two, when I say the book showcased the plight about endangered, now over here, plight about endangered, now it's always a plight of, it's never a plight about, because plight means a condition. So it's a condition of endangered animals, which means good job. The correct answer is going to be option B. There's a prepositional difference between the two. Next question. We start. 31st. We have the answer for 31st. Okay, so Ankita is given in the answer. How about the other ones? Okay, so we have A coming in as the answer, and also C. Okay, let's see which of the following is going to be the correct answer for the 31st one. Making science accessible would need investments of quality people who could write and translate text to multiple languages. Okay, now let's see. Making science accessible would need, now first things first, we don't want would. Would is a past form. The statement is in its simple present, so I don't want a would, which means anything with would will now not be an answer. Second, making science accessible will need investments. Okay. Now, of quality people, no. You don't make investments of quality people. You tend to make investments in quality people. So you want these kind of people who are going to be able to make some good. That's the kind of, quality that you want to bring to the table. So over here, again, it's not going to be off. In fact, it is going to be in. So we'll need investments in quality people who can write and translate text with multiple languages. The correct answer is going to be C. You always indulge in good friendship. You don't indulge of good friendship. That's how the idea is. Next. Now, starting from 32 to 36, there is a statement that's been broken up into parts. You have to tell me which of the following is going to be the most appropriate series over here. Let's read and see what do we have. Read the statements and please see which of the following is going to be the correct answer. Okay, so we have B coming in. How about the other ones? Okay, so we have B coming in. Let's see, let's read B and see what do we have over here. Now, it begins with A. So it says India has said that negotiations on tightening fishery subsidies at the World Trade Organization, pushed by the European Union, the New Zealand, and the Chile, in the areas of agriculture. No, that's not what it is. Please read the careful information carefully. Below is a sentence that is divided into one of the parts is grammatically incorrect or has an error. You have to identify the parts that are grammatically correct and then choose. So first things first, please identify which of the following is a grammatical part. And then see which of the following is going to be. So this is slightly. Okay, so if you know CD is a pair, then you have to see which of the following have CD, right? Because we want CD in the statement, which means B can't be an answer. Now you'll have to see which of the following has an issue. Try. Okay, so we have C coming in. Now let's see. Now it says, C says, India has said that negotiations on tightening fishery subsidies at the World Trade Organization. No, again, that is what is going to be wrong. In fact, what is an error over here is in the part wherein it says India has said that negotiations on tightening fishery subsidies of the WTO pushed by the American and the Chile should only. Okay, all right. Let's read C because you want me to. Either ways. Now, India has said that negotiations on tightening fishery subsidies at the World Trade Organization, pushed by the European Union, New Zealand, and Chile, should take place only after there is substantial progression. Okay, in the areas of agriculture, industrial good, and services. Okay, there's another option. I just want you to try, read it, and then we'll see, which of the following. So the answer will have to be between C and D itself, but to choose, we'll just see the other one. Let's try with D. India has said that negotiations on tightening pushed by the European Union, New Zealand, and Chile should take place only after there is substantial progression in the areas of agriculture. Okay. Now on tightening between the two guys, our answer in fact is going to be D and not C. You were very close to it, but the reason why it's going to be D is because if you remove part B, it says India has said that negotiations on tightening, now whatever be the kind of negotiations on tightening which are being pushed by the European Union, the New Zealand and Chile. So all of this, India has very clearly said that whatever you are pressurizing us to do, we will do. But we will only do it after there has been a substantial progress that has been made in the field of agriculture, industrial goods and services. So the part that can be eliminated over here is going to be fishery subsidies at the World Trade Organization, because that's a redundant part. We don't really need it. That's not something, because the statement can be complete even without it. So very close and a very good job there. But yes, the answer is going to be D. Now that you know how to do it, try this one. It takes a while to be able to check. The next one, please. It is not exactly, so it is a sort of a sentence jumble, wherein we have a sentence and that we have to bring the sentence together. That is what it is. So it's a grammar plus a mixture of grammar and of course the parajumbles that we have. So that's how it's going to be. Let's see, what do we have over here? We have C coming in and then we also have A coming in. All right then. Let's see, what do we have for 33. Let's start with A. Abandoning nuclear test in the country's test site of a geographical inevitability after the Panji Reed nuclear test site was probably damaged in September's very large explosion. Okay, now break it down. Abandoning nuclear tests in the country's test sites, right? Of, so the moment you say of the country's test site of a geographical inevitability after the nuclear test site was probably damaged, this makes absolute sense. Yes, let's reserve this. There's also somebody for B, I suppose. So I'm going to, no, C. So I'm also going to try C once. Now it says, may just be the strategy packaging. Now you will not begin with B, of course. So very good job over here. The correct version of putting the sentences together is going to be option A. You can bunk part B altogether. Let's go next. Sentence jumble. See which of the following is going to be the right set. Okay, so Ayush, what you have to do over here is, there are 4 options that we have. Out of it, only one set of 4 syllables will make a sentence complete, both grammatically and meaningfully. So it's a sentence jumble. A sentence has been broken up into 5 parts although, and one part is redundant. We don't need one of the parts. You just have to see which is that part, take it out and make a series with your sentences. So it's sentence jumble with a twist. अभी तक क्या होता था, सेंटेंस जंबल में हमारे पास वो पार्ट्स होते थे और उसी को हम लोग फिर क्या करते थे, रीअरेंज करते थे. Here what we are going to do is we are going to rearrange it in a slightly different format. I hope you understand now. Try it. Give it an attempt and see, please. Okay, so we have the answer coming in. Okay, so Arnav plays basketball, which is very good. And I think this one's very easy again. So we have one person who's answered. Pratyusha has been very quick. How about the other ones, guys? Okay, so we have A, C, D, E. We're going to start with C just to see. So Mark Cuban, owner of the NBA, thinks intensified fan interest will double franchisee values across baseball, football, basketball, and hockey. Excellent. The answer is going to be option C. Too good, guys. Next, let's see what do we have here. 35. Let's go. So did Ayush get it this time? Ayush, did you understand what needs to be done now? So we are now on question number 35. Okay, so we have B and C coming in. Let's just see what do we have here. Okay, B seems to be taking pace. Let's start with B though. Exporting cheap labor. Ireland has accepted a sizable number of immigrants and is home to foreign tech companies like Google, Amazon, and Facebook. Makes absolute sense. There's also C, so I'd like to read C. Long associated from Ireland has no, long associated from Ireland has makes no sense at all. So yes, the correct version is going to be option B. Very well there. Let's try the next and the last one in this set, in the series. Please begin. Yes, Rhythm, a prize for you. I like the fact that you keep motivating yourself by giving these little trophies, which is a very good. I mean, self-affirmation are is one of the best things one should always indulge in. So far, I'm so glad you guys have been, staying strong, and I think you're really getting a hang of what is it that we seem to be doing here. Let's get to the 36th one. So we have A and B coming in. Let's see. Now, I'm going to start reading with A and then B. So A says the government, as a part of its cleaner air strategy, wants to clamp down on all sources of pollution. No, you want to clamp down on all sources of pollution, but there's more to it. Like, okay, but let's see if you want this to be the answer. Let's also read B. Its cleaner air strategy wants to. No, this definitely cannot be an answer. I also want you to try C for once and see. So the government, as a part of, wants to clamp. No, as a part of wants to clamp, of course, cannot be. So yes, the answer over here is going to be option A. Very well. And with that, we finish with that exercise. Let's get back to parajumbles, but now with options. So initially we did subjective, now we're going to be doing objective ones. So whatever be the option that you tell me is what I will read straight away. Let's go. Let's see what do we have with the series over here. Let me know when your option's ready. Have you been able to finish? Do we have an answer already? So we have C and A and D also. Okay, let's see. Let's start with A. It was certainly a tiny place. Just, but just being big enough for them. Okay. There was a large old-fashioned kitchen and a tiny parlor. No, no, we cannot start with Q because we know for a fact that if it has to be a tiny place and that it has to begin with an it. We're talking about the kitchen and the tiny parlor. So the statement will have to have whatever be the mention of it. We cannot have Q to itself. That's not what it is because if there is a kitchen and a tiny parlor, if you read all of the statements, you know that there is also a home. So between Q and P, we know that the statement will have to begin with a P. Now with P, the answer is going to be option C. Let's put option C into place and see. That day and the morning of the next, the two girls spent in exploring their holiday home. It was certainly a tiny place, but just big enough for them. There was an old-fashioned kitchen and a tiny parlor. Above were three small rooms. So right in the same chronology of the description of the room. The house, sorry. Next, let's go. Let's read the next one and see. Do we have the answers already? Okay, so we have C coming in as the answer. Let's read and see for 38 what do we have. C is what you want me to, but I'll read all the statements first just to know. Or let's start with C. Now, a girl with ragged clothes, bare feet, and wild curling hair jumped violently and turned around. Okay, so we can begin with R, definitely. Let's go next. In a trice, Susan jumped up and down and had hold of her wrist. Okay, all right, that also makes sense. Now that she's held on to her wrist, let's see what do we have next. She tried to bite her and kicked out with her bare foot. Okay, she did not hold her roughly, but okay. Now you have to understand over here, guys. If she held on to the wrist, the next idea will have to continue on to she holding on to the wrist, right? So we have an idea that seems to be holding on the wrist, which means P and Q will have to be a mandatory pair and not P and S. Because one thing leads to the other. So whenever there is an idea that's been spoken about, it has to be in continuation of it. So clearly that cannot be. The answer over here will then take a Q and S. The correct option is going to be option B. In Parajumbles, always make sure that you're taking lead of the story to be able to talk about what the idea is. Let's try next. 39. On to the next one. So for 39, we have, it's B that's coming up. Good, Nidad. The answer was B. We're on to 39th now. Let's see what do we have for the 39th as the answer. Okay, so we have B coming in. Let's read B to be able to be sure. Starting with C, they all gasped and gazed down in silence. Okay, now if they've gasped and gazed down in silence, the next idea will have to be in continuation. Not one of them had ever been so high up before, nor had they seen such a wide and magnificent view. Okay. It seemed as if their whole world lay spread out before them, sparkling in the sunshine. Okay. Below, far, sorry. So after Q, we were supposed to be having P. My bad. Below, far below, lay the valley through which curved the silver river like a gleaming snake. Okay, all right. And then it says, it seemed as if the whole world lay spread out before them, sparkling like. Now, everything over here is okay except for one. There is a description wherein you have to talk about chronology as well. This is a very chronologically laid. So they went to a start point. They went to a point by climbing a lot of things. So that is how the narration will have to be. So they all gasped and gazed down in silence. So they reached the top, they gasped, they took some breath, and then they saw down, and they were so stunned by what they saw. The next will be below, far below, because it's about gazing down now. So lay the valley through which curved the silver river like a gleaming snake. Not one of them had ever been so high up before, nor had they seen such a wide and magnificent view that is on top, and to be able to see something like that. So everything is okay on your option except for these two words. The correct answer will be option A, guys. Very close, but of course, that's not what the answer is going to be. I hope this one's clear. Let's go to the next. The last one in the set, and then we have one activity that remains, and that's going to be the end of the session for today. Let's go on to the last one. Make sure we go all in with this one and not at all disappoint ourselves with any confusing answer. Do we have an answer already? Find an opener first. So of the lot, the one thing that we definitely know is that our opener is going to be of the lot with R, right? It'll have to be with R because that's what talks about the boy forgot his fears in his interest at the efforts of the two eagles to make the young one fly. So the next will have to be about the boy, right? And of course, the kind of effort. So over here, they went about by talking about. Next can be maybe they persuaded it to the edge of the nest and then with a push dislodged it downwards. The female eagle flew round and round, yelping, trying to tell it all the eagle's world that she knew that it must go with her. The young one listened and seemed to listen, then turned its head away, bored. So, what is going to be the sequence over here? Okay, so we have D, and yes, the correct answer over here is going to be D, which is R, Q, P, and S. Very well. All right then. And on to, oh, there's one more. Oh, I don't know if this is one more, guys. I'm so sorry. The last one. I'm sure this is going to be the last one here. Let's see what do we have here. On to the 41st one. Of the lot, I think the moment you find the opener, you will have the answer. Because there's only one opener of the lot, and then there is only one option. And that's the biggest hint I could have actually given you guys around it. Okay, now let's see. And in some ways, London, now this begins with, of course, a conjunction. This is not our opener. London was a misty grey with scarlet trimmings, and Bill looked at it with affection. So, okay, we have an introduction here. The dignity, the underlying kindness beneath the surface indifference, the worth, respect worthiness that compensated for the lack of pretty frills. Okay. Army nurses used to have that ring out, that grey and scarlet. Now we're talking about the army nurses, but the army nurses cannot just be introduced because we know the fact that there is a line over here that joins London and the sisters' uniform, which means the army angle over here, which means I will have to begin. So before putting this, I will have to have a statement which is going to put about the army nurses and the London idea. That is where, you know, the third statement can be a marriage of both of the ideas, which means of the lot, I will be beginning with Q. Now, London was a misty grey with scarlet trimmings because we have scarlet, which is a continuing idea which comes. London had this and Bill looked at it with affection. So, Bill was very fascinated by all of this. Army nurses used to have that ring out, that grey and scarlet. So, Q and S are definitely a mandatory pair. And once that has been established, there is only one answer that we have, which is going to be option A. chase your words, guys. The moment you find common, mandatory ideas that are the ones that are going to compulsorily be together, just associate them. There is no stopping. Nobody can at all disregard that as an option. And the last four questions, let's do the reading comprehension very quickly. I'll just walk you through the idea of it maybe, and then you can get on to the questions. Let's read it along and see what do we have. The capabilities that scientists have developed to engineer the genetics of plants and animals could have a profound impact. Profound means a deep impact on the control of insects and insect-related diseases. So the way the scientists have gone about doing their explorations is going to have a very deep impact on what we know about the insects and the insect-related. One approach would be to introduce into the pest pollution individuals that have been genetically altered to carry genes that interfere with reproduction. One of the things that we can do is into the gene pool of pesticides, we tend to put manually something which is going to impede, which is going to stop the reproductive process. Researchers are also evaluating the possibility of replacing natural mosquito population with populations that are unable to support natural parasite. So within the natural population, they want to put in something which is going to, be an embargo, which is going to stop the population density. In addition, work is underway to produce mites and insects that are highly effective enemies of crop pests. In fact, they're also genetically engineering mice and pests. Mice and other rodents which are going to now affect or eat up the pests. For instance, a transgenic version of the mite is helping to control spider mites and almond orchid. So, for example, they've made a transgenic, that is genetically उसको थोड़ा सा change करके उन लोगों ने एक mite बनाया जो एक्चुअली में क्या करता है, स्पाइडर माइट्स को जो आमंड्स ऑर्किड में फैलते हैं उनको खा जाता है. There are, however, associated concerns, but of course there are concerns. One is that arthropods, the contrast of transgenic crops, have the ability to make sudden changes in their diet and even in their genes, coupled with the fact that they can readily move from one area to other. First is, of course, the arthropods, the fact that they tend to genetically alter their gene pool and that they can move from one to the other. Furthermore, it can be that the foreign gene from the genetically engineered organism can be transferred to another arthropod species. The fact that there can also be transferring. Other researchers are directing their attention to functional analysis of the genes that assure that virulence of such various parasites. We're not going to discuss this word because this is a question. One of the most vicious malaria parasites, for example, protects itself by manufacturing a protein that expels drugs before they can be fully effective. So they are trying to find a breakthrough. In fact, they have found it also, but then there are, of course, a few things naturally that occur which have immunity. So they already have some sort of immunity against these and nothing is going to help them. So there are challenges as well that is happening. Having identified and isolated these genes, scientists are attempting to develop a compound that will interfere with the action of the protein. So now they're developing a compound as well. This in turn should permit engineering the genes within the parasite to either prevent or reverse the resistance of these organisms of various drugs. In related studies, genetic engineers have achieved impressive successes in designing agriculture plants with improved resistance to insects and viruses. So it's done a good job as well. Initially, such efforts were directed to improving plant resistance. Today, the aim has been expanded to include protecting the harvested. So earlier, it was just to be able to build the immunity of the plant. Now it is also to protect the harvest that has happened. In certain crops, cereal grains, beans, peas, weevils, and other insects can cause loss during storage equal to those incurred during the growing. So there are a couple who can also cause loss while they are being stored. So they are the kinds of insects that will come and feed onto the cultivated grains as well, and that is where the problem is. So it's about how science is really helping store the harvest and increase the resistance in the plants. And with that, let us start. According to the passage, why is it insufficient to control plant damage or losses due to pest? So of course, when we talked about this, okay, I'll give you a moment to answer and then maybe we can. Let's see, what do we have? It simply says, according to the passage, why is it insufficient to control plant damage or losses due to pest? So the kind of answer that I'm looking for over here has to be something wherein, because until now we don't have anything wherein where science has been able to make a breakthrough. Very good. The answer will be C. Damage to stored crops by pests is equally prevalent. It is insufficient to control them. Why? Because damage to stored crops, so until now, we were only trying to do it for resistance, but even the stored ones are getting affected. And that is what the limitation has been. Very well. Which of the following describes the organization of the passage? So how do you think the layout of the passage has been? Is it a hypothesis, observation, specific case, or a generalization? Clearly, it's not a generalization. Let's see, is it a hypothesis? Are we hypothetically talking? No. The scientists have been able to achieve half of it. So it's no more a hypothesis. Can't be. An observation is made and different aspects are detailed to support. Yes, it's an observation. Can definitely be. We can always reserve this. But let's also see another one over here. A specific case is presented and the pros and cons are discussed and a conclusion is arrived at. Have we arrived to a conclusion? We have not really arrived to a conclusion over here. This is an itchy part over here, which means our answer will be an observation is made and different aspects are detailed to support it. We are still trying to reach a point we have not yet able to reach. This is incorrect because there's no conclusion that has been reached. Let's see the next. Efforts towards producing mites and insects that are highly effective enemies of crop pests is a case of. Let's see which of the following is it going to rely upon. It is a case of. Let's see what do we have is the answer. Anybody who's ready to ping in the answer? Very good job. B. Developing a population of genetically altered species to counter the harmful ones. All of these are specific detail. We have the answer specified right in the passage. Next, the use of transgenic version is likely to be ineffective in arthropods because of all of the following abilities except. So tell me the one. So the question is, the use of this is likely to be ineffective. So all of these are going to be ineffective except, which means what is that one way in which it is going to be effective? Which of the following? So it is going to be effective in the arthropods because of we have A, their migration, no. As per the passage, it said that arthropods have the ability to make a sudden change in their diets and even in their genes, coupled with the fact that they can readily move from one area to other. Further, they also talked about the fact that the foreign gene from the genetically engineered organism can be transferred to the other. So what is that one thing which has not been talked about? No, guys, it is going to be resistance to insects and viruses. Where has this been talked about? It says the use of transgenic versions is likely to be ineffective in arthropods because all of the following abilities of except. So while all of the others have been mentioned, the fact that when is it going to be effective has not been mentioned in the passage only. We reverse the question to find, but the part that is effectiveness has not been. Migration, transformation, ability to transfer has a mention in the passage. Resistance to insects and viruses has no mention in the passage at all, which means the correct answer becomes this. So this must be what was making it effective, but such a mention was never in the passage. So that's how you do such questions. Always remember, two negative words will make the question positive. Minus, minus, plus. It's the same logic. And the last one for today, which of the following is merely the same as the meaning of violence as used in the passage? So we know for a fact that in the passage, violence meant something which was harmful, something that was poisonous. So which of the following is it going to be? Which of the following has the same meaning as poisonous? Which one do we have over here, guys? The same meaning as poisonous is going to be? A. Excellent. It's going to be malignity. The other words are not even close to it. And with that, we've come to an end. So that was a solid 2 hours that we spent with each other. I'm sure you had immense learning value to whatever we did. I'm hoping that there's been no confusion with whatever it is that we discussed. If there is, please do let me know in the chat box or reach out to me however you can, or touch base with whoever be the nearest faculty and get your doubts cleared. Well, I hope I've been able to do a good job there and that you have had no confusion whatsoever. I'm going to see you guys next time again with another preparation strategy and a prep paper that we are going to be solving live. Get up because the next time is going to be longer and lengthier than what we are spending tonight or today. That's going to be it. It's going to be me signing off now, but I shall see you once again. For all of you troubled people who are still finding vocabulary a jolt, don't worry about it. Just make sure that you're reading. If your reading's right, all things have been taken care of. Have a great day. Have a superb weekend, all of you. And I will see you guys next week again with an IPM specific paper wherein we are going to dive deep into the strategies of it. But until then, please make sure that you are practicing your stuff. Thank you once again. And it was a pleasure doing this IPM roulette that we did for the questions.